What is up, Mom Nation? I am Erin and I'm back with Energy Shift. It is our weekly Tuesday wellness check-in, and I am here with the amazing Sara Michelle Pitcher. She is going to help us navigate travel. Can you tell us? I know a lot of the women here know you, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a born and raised Arizonan. So I've been here. I did move for a little while, but I came back, obviously, and have loved the weather, love just Arizona in general. But I have always loved traveling. I've always loved seeing new things and learning new things. And so I kind of fell into travel back in 2021, and I've been doing it for 5 years, and I absolutely love it.
Nice. It sounds like such a fun job. We're gonna dive into some tips on like healthy travel, but before we popped on, I was mentioning that I have personally never worked with a travel agent. Okay, don't hurt me. But I think since I've gotten to know you and know a little bit about what you do and follow you on social media, I what I have come to realize is that it is a great way to minimize stress, probably get a little bit more bang for your buck with travel, see some things that you wouldn't normally see because you're not planning it on your own. Tell us about working with a travel agent. What does that look like when you want to plan your next vacation?
Yeah, so travel agents were really popular, back in like our grandparents' days and stuff like that. And the internet became very popular and very used. And so people just started planning kind of their own trips. But we are becoming a busier society. We don't have a lot of time and we don't know everything. We don't have the time to research everything. So travel agents are actually becoming more popular to help kind of take the stress off of that. And some people don't understand that it can be as much or as little as you want. So I have planned trips literally from someone being picked up from their front door all the way back, dropped off at their front door, and everything in between, including all of their daily activities, to, just finding a hotel that meets kind of the requirements of the people. So everybody says, oh, what's the best resort in Mexico? Well, the best resort for you might be different than the best resort for me, because you have different things that you like and dreams of your vacation and what that looks like than I do, or somebody that has, two young children, so using a travel agent that kind of knows that and has specialties in what the resorts offer and what people want, we can kind of match what a dream vacation is and plan that. And you still have control of the vacation. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to be, not have control. I don't want to be in control of what I'm doing or what's going on and what's planning. But the nice thing is that instead of you having to do all the research, we do all the research and then we give you plans. So if you say, I want to stay in the Cancun area and I want to do zip lining, instead of you going and researching all the different zip lining options, I would come to you and present you the different zip lining options, show you how far away they are from the resort that we picked and all of those different things. So it's a little bit more just stress-free for you, and you still get the option of doing what you want and planning what you want. But I also have experience too, so I can say, hey, this is really good, or you might not know that, you might have somebody that's 6'4" and they only let people do 6'2" on these zip lines at these certain ones, or, a weight restriction or different things like that. So there's a lot of things that goes into that that we know and that we research.
Oh, I love that. That makes a lot of sense because you might show up and not be able to get on the zip line if you're too tall or even too small. Like you have a little one you think is able to go, but maybe not able to go. So that is super cool. So I know that you're a Disney fan, right? You're a big Disney. So do you plan Disney vacations? Because I know like we're talking to moms, we're talking to families. That's such a huge thing in family life.
Yes, I do. I am a huge Disney adult, so I go to Disney very often, and I do know Disney in and out. So I have helped lots of moms and Mom Nation moms plan trips to Disney. Katie actually went to Disney with her son and one of our friends. And, so they had an awesome time. But, some people don't realize how in-depth Disney is and all the different options. It's not just, oh, I can buy a ticket and go. You can, but then, you don't know about the different meal options. You don't know about the different line options. And if you can get in quicker, if you want to buy the photo pass, if you don't, if you have little ones and you want to do character dining, those are all the things that we know and we can book for you too. So I do full service. It doesn't have to be that way. Like I said, some moms like to have that control and like to do that, but I help you every step of the way. So whether it's a cruise or Disney or a resort or anything like that, you may not know that one of the resorts in Mexico charges a $500 incidental deposit. And so I've had people come to me and be like, hey, I want to go, even if you have the hotel picked out, it's still great to use a travel agent because they know the ins and outs of that hotel. They may be able to say, hey, just make sure you have $500 on your credit card because they're going to charge that. Because if you go and, say you have no clue and you've saved up every single penny, and then all of a sudden you have $500 incidental holds, you're going to have a pretty slim vacation if that was your spending money, Yeah. And same with like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique or dining reservations for Disney or even cruises, like when you can check in and your window to get on the ship. So that's something that a good travel agent reminds you and has things set in place where they're like, okay, you can check in for your flight tomorrow. It's time to check in and things like that. So that's what I really pride myself on doing is making sure I'm there every step of the way, whether, you're leaving in 5 days or whether you're leaving in 2 years. I walk you through every step that you need.
No, I love that. And I feel like it takes so much of the stress off because there's no surprises. Usually when you go on a trip, there's some sort of surprise. Like you said, the $500 incidental, which can be hugely burdensome, or not being able to get your kid into something, or like knowing you need to book something months in advance instead of like when you get there. So travel can be so stressful, especially when you're traveling with your family, and being able to just go and enjoy and know that everything is planned for you sounds like the way to do it.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's something I love doing. And I love being able to give those memories to my clients, because travel is more about just going places and seeing things.
Can you give us I feel like people want to know maybe a secret. Like, let's talk about Disney because I think that's a big one. Like, what are you able to find for somebody or get somebody into that they may or may not know even exists for their family?
So a lot of times it's the restaurants and the timing of the restaurants and the reservations. And, I last year I actually sat in a line for 14 hours. It was a virtual queue for the Halloween party, not so scary Halloween party. And so it's things like that I'll do, or, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, they open up at a certain time. So I'll wake up and get those reservations for my clients, whereas they won't have to do that. And they may not know that reservations open, 60 days in advance. So they may go, oh, we need to look at dining next week. And then all the ones that they want are out. So, it's little things like that. There are different things that I can get and that I can add. Sometimes I get benefits and perks at different hotels that I pass on to my clients, whether it's, a welcome basket or maybe it's a breakfast or things like that. But travel agents aren't just to get a discount. A lot of times we can get about the same price as you, if not save you a little bit, but it's more about that convenience of knowing everything. And, if you've got kids, maybe you want a kid care and you want to know the hours and you don't know, or maybe you didn't know that they offer nanny services and they can come in and watch the kids in the room at night. So you can go have a date night, even though you're still on your family trip, so things like that. I mean, maybe you want to rent a cabana, but you don't know that the cabana opens, 60 days in advance. So you're there and they're all rented out, so it's a lot of little things that unless you're spending hours and hours on the internet researching all the different things, you're not going to know that.
Yeah. And like, who has time for that these days? Like none of us, we do not. So it sounds like you are the go-to for that. let's talk wellness on vacation. I know you have some ideas on how to kind of stay in tune with your body and mindset, and especially when traveling with kids, because that can be crazy. So, how do we keep, for lack of a better term, our shit together when we are traveling and prioritizing our health and wellness? Or maybe we're not. Maybe we just need a break, but we still want to be mindful.
Yeah. So I would say, something tends to always kind of go haywire or wrong. And so going in with a mindset of, everything's not going to be perfect. You might get to the room and something might not be right, or you might get to the airport and your flight is delayed. And so just knowing that travel is not something that's always going to go right, and kind of going in with that mindset, always packing extra snacks. Like if you have kids and you decide, you're going to fly and you have a layover, you may be delayed. You might miss that connection. You might be delayed at your home airport. And so having those snacks are going to save you a lot of money from the airport food, but also just being flexible and knowing that, you'll get there, you'll have a good time. If something happens, then typically if you have a travel agent, we're there to kind of help you walk through it. But, you'll get there and you'll have a great time, just having the flexibility of it's not going to go exactly as you planned it all the time. And really just thinking about what you want your vacation to look like. Is it going to matter if you're there 2 hours later? I mean, is this really going to affect your vacation in the long run? And I think I always ask my clients when I get on the phone with them, like, what is their dream and what is their vision for their, vacation or their trip? And so then I can help them kind of make that happen. If self-care, we always think of like self-care as like, going to get our hair done, or going to the spa, or, drinking enough water or things like that. And like travel can give you a lot of rest and recharge for everybody. So the kids, there's not stress. You're not having to figure out, a lot of times if you're going to like an all-inclusive or a cruise, you don't have to figure out a dinner. They can kind of eat what they want. You get a break from fixing all of that, the drinks, everything. So everybody kind of gets to rest and intentionally have the like stressors of home and everything go away. And so it's great for the kids to see that in their parents. The parents aren't stressing about what's going on tomorrow, or do we get the kids up in time, or, are we going to make it to this appointment? It's just nice where everybody can laugh. You guys can do adventures together. There's a lot of like mental and emotional recharge and health. And there are tons of ways, if you are wanting to stay active, a lot of resorts have gyms and workout areas. If you're on the beach, you can take a family walk on the beach. I mean, that's awesome. And, collect shells, and, cruise ships have amazing gyms and classes that you can do, and walking trails and stuff like that. So, there are still tons of opportunities, and most places are very in tune with like food allergies or food recommendations or sensitivities. If you're eating healthy, you can request food on airplanes, if you're vegan or if you're gluten-free. And so I think we've come a long way in being able to accommodate people with all of their different, needs.
Yeah, I love that. So if I were to call you and want to book a trip, and me, I like to work out, I like to go on walks. So you could plan, like you would look ahead and see which hotels or Airbnbs or cruise ships or whatever have the best facilities for what I like to do as well.
Yes. So for you, kind of knowing you, and, I would look into more of like a wellness resort that offers, a lot of healthy eating and food, and, has a lot of like maybe yoga options and things like that. There are very many resorts that have focused more towards wellness too. And so that, that your trip would look different than somebody that has, kids and wants to go to kid care and wants to have a splash pad and a water park and things like that, or even, people in their early 20s that are wanting to go to like a party resort and have, parties late into the night, things like that. So that's why I say, when people are like, oh, what's the best resort? And, Playa del Carmen, I'm like, well, it depends on what the best vacation is for you, because it just depends. There's not a best resort for everybody. there's a best resort for what you want.
Yeah, and there's so many. It can be, we went to Tulum and Akumal a few years ago, and when we were driving there, there's probably like 50 resorts that I didn't even know existed. And it would have been nice to, I loved where we stayed, but then I wondered as we went, I'm like, if we came back, like which one of these would I want to stay in? So that's where you come in.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is, when we talk a little bit, like we're talking about energy shift and things like that, the nice thing is, like here, if we're into like energy work and grounding and, things like that, it's nice to change that, like nature is a healer, like it naturally heals. And so like going into the beaches or going into the mountains or forests or the ocean, they all carry different energies. And, grounding and calming, it can invigorate you. So, you can get different energies from different places. And there's so many different options where, you can go and you can even look at things like that. I mean, we live so close to Sedona and there's so many different like energies, forces up there and things like that. So, every person is so different and so unique. And that's why every vacation and trip is so different and unique.
So true. So do you talk to people about that? They're like, I want to plan a trip, but I'm looking to like for this kind of energy. I want to relax and I want the kids to feel calm. And like, do you plan trips based on that too?
Yes. So what I do is, if I can, I always get the person on the phone because I like to talk to them. I like to kind of hear. And if you had called me for a trip, I would say, Erin, tell me your vision for your trip. Like what does your perfect trip look like? Tell me what you see yourself doing on this trip, and then you would tell me, and you would say, oh, I can see myself at the pool relaxing and, going into the beach. And so I pick up on things like that. Like if pools and beaches are important to you, then I'm not going to put you at a resort that doesn't have a beach or a walkable beach. If you talk about how you want to try really good food and food that's healthy and you want to do some, like yoga and things like that, those are all the things I pick up on. So I don't necessarily ask the specific question, but I can hear by what they're saying and what they're describing. Somebody might say, oh, we're taking our grandparents on a trip and this might be their final trip. And so, we really want to make sure we have that time together and those things together that we're doing. And so, maybe excursions would be important because that's actually some different things that they would do together instead of just stay at the resort. So I'm really big on trying to get the person on the phone and kind of see their vision for their trip because everybody has a different vision. Some people want to sit by the pool and have the pina colada and, do nothing else. And then some people want to, go work out at the gym and go on 10-mile hikes and go swim all the cenotes and, it's so different.
Well, and you can probably think of things that we wouldn't think about. Like you mentioned taking your grandparents. Well, like you might suggest a photographer come take if it's their last trip that you're going to take with them or big trip, like having a memory of that. Whereas like when we're in the midst of trying to plan our lives and work and live, and we're like, that's probably something we would just overlook and just figure our phones were good enough. But you would absolutely treasure some photographs with your grandparents, especially if it was the last big trip they took with you.
Yes. Yeah. And there's so many different things. I mean, I'm sure you've seen like the flying dress photo shoot that people do, all over. And they're now really popular in Mexico and Jamaica, not only, in Europe and Greece, but there's so many different things that you can do. And if you're adventurous, you might want to do, like the race cars on the ocean and, maybe you want to do a kayak photo shoot. There's so many different things. And I think by just understanding what people want for their trip, you can learn that and then you can kind of recommend all the different ones. And like I said, people can do it on their own, but the one nice thing is that if anything happens, you have one person that you talk to.
Yeah.
So, if I booked everything for you and all of a sudden, say your person didn't come pick you up for your fishing trip, you would be like, oh my gosh, who do I need to call? Who do I need to talk to? Which one is it? Is it WhatsApp? Is it a phone number? And so just being able to, like text me or call me and say, hey, they're not here. What's going on? Can you help me? Or with your flight or with the resort or anything. Instead of having to manage all of that, you have one person that manages all of that for you. And then you just have that one contact. So it's nice to kind of relieve that stress of having to manage it all too.
Yeah, no, I love that. We have gotten ourselves into trouble with like booking excursions and wanting to do something else or needing to cancel because of weather. And you feel like you're running around like a crazy person trying to manage all of those things instead of just like texting you and being like, hey, it's raining today, so we can't do this. Can we switch it out or do something different or switch it to another day? I love that. Do you have any other than hiring a travel agent, because we've already decided that is number one for reducing stress when going on vacation? What other stress management tips do you have when traveling for people?
I would just say, keep in the forefront of what you're trying to accomplish, because like I said, things are not always going to go the way they're supposed to go. I mean, you might not have towels in your room when you get there. And so, instead of getting angry and upset, it's really just about, okay, we're here. I'm on a call. It's not exactly the way I wanted it, but it'll be figured out and it'll be worked out. Travel day is always long. It's always stressful. It's always tiring. But just staying in the moment. I mean, as much as you can turn your phones off and try to, get away from work. I mean, a lot of us work remote now, so a lot of us take our work with us on vacations. But, if you can not get the internet package on the cruise ship or, just have a certain time that you just do your Wi-Fi and use your phones and do your work, and just stay present and just enjoy the time with the people that you're there for, because it really does make a difference and it really does kind of recharge you. And so when you come back, you have that connection that you guys all made on vacation. And then it's kind of a refresh and renewed for like your family or your relationship or you and your kids and things like that. So,
yeah, I love that so much. Well, where can everybody get a hold of you other than Facebook? How do they find you to book trip? You book trips everywhere, right? All over the place.
Yes, I do. Yes. Yeah. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Travel with Sara Michelle. You can look me up on just regular Facebook under Sara Pitcher. But you can, email me or call me or message me. And I'm more than happy to set up a call and help you plan your next trip.
Yeah, she's our Mom Nation travel guru. So get with her. I plan to in the future for sure. Any other last tips and tricks or anything you want to share with the ladies before we wrap it up today?
We do have a Mom Nation annual cruise coming up. It's March 13th, and it is out of Long Beach. And so you can find information in the event tab of Mom Nation. But it'll be fun, and we'd love to have you guys join us.
That's so fun. Yes. Get in on that cruise, ladies. Is that moms only or families?
No,
or...
this one is a family one. So
okay.
Families, kids, husbands, couples, everybody's coming. So we've done just moms in the past, but this one we were like, hey, let's invite everybody and bring everybody. And so it's on a Royal Caribbean ship, and it'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot of activities that we're all going to do.
Heck yes. Okay. Well, y'all have your next trip planned already. So get in on that. Sara, thank you so, so much. This was super fun to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. We will have Sara back. So if you ever have any questions and you want to chat with her, just let me know. We'll get her back on here to talk all things travel. And now's a good time because Christmas presents. So start buying those trips. I don't like to bring up Christmas. It's still technically September, but we all know it's going to be here before we know it, right? So
yes, they'll remember those experiences and activities more than they'll remember those toys that you got them. So
it's my favorite thing. That's my husband and I like to travel for the holidays, and we do like I don't remember gifts, but I remember every trip we took, and I think that's huge. So yes. Well, thanks again. And thank you, ladies. I hope this was helpful. We will see you all again next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Struggling to feel your best? When energy is low and nothing seems to work, it's time for a new approach. Here's someone who guides real people to real, lasting wellness. Meet Erin McDonald. certified master health coach, nutrition coach, and NASM personal trainer. Helping you create simple, lasting routines that support a healthier, more energized you. Feel better, move better, live better. Because health isn't just a goal, it's a lifestyle you deserve. Take the first step toward feeling your best. Your future self will thank you. Connect with Erin today.